5 of diamonds, Duke doubles up.
Still not a ton of breathing room for Annie in the sub-10 big blind territory.
70, 85,
Not likely to see anything other than an all-in if she chooses to play a pot.
Eric now up just under 6.5 to 1.
No reason to be frustrated by that outcome. Clearly disappointed, but he's still sitting very pretty to level the match.
Race.
With 8-7, he puts Annie all in.
Eric puts Annie all in.
Willing to gamble again.
She's got king 5 and she calls.
All in the call.
Annie calls.
Any king generally rates to be a favorite in a heads-up all-in situation against a
8-7
random
off for
hand.
Eric Seidel. King of hearts, 5 of diamonds for Annie.
And that is the case here.
Eric trying to level this
Here's the flop.
championship. Open-ended straight
4,
draw
6,
for
9.
Seidel.
Pretty good flop considering he's behind.
Straight draw. Eric.
5, 7, 8, 10, as you see at the top of the board there. All cards that'll make him a happy man.
Here's the turn.
Eric makes his straight.
Not over yet, though.
Straight for Eric Seidel.
Annie's king of hearts means she's got a flush draw. Can't hit the 3 or the 8 of hearts. That would give Seidel the straight
Here's the river.
flush. Any other heart, though, and Annie doubles up.
Annie whiffs. Seidel has evened it at 1 apiece. And this championship is going to be decided in a rubber match.
Might as well make it interesting.
Connected with every flop. That was hard. Nice deuce, man.
Alright, finally I gotcha. Where are you buying me dinner?
I was up and down, dude.
Better be something super fancy.
Sicko.
Oh, gosh.
And it's a straight for Eric Seidel. This match will go the distance.
Tied 1-1. The next match determines our champion.
Welcome back to the 6th Annual National Heads Up Poker Championship presented by GoDaddy.com. The crowd here in the Caesars Palace Poker Room is getting all the action they bargained for as Eric Seidel just tied up the match, 1-all. Eric, you've won 8 World Series bracelets. What would it mean to you to win this Heads Up title?
This would be a great one to win because so many great players have won in the past. So I'm going to be shooting for it.
All right, good luck. Annie, you've survived highs and lows all tournament. How do you regroup for the 3rd match and get back the momentum?
I'm just going to try to play better. I mean, Eric just played circles around me last match, so I'm going to try to hopefully make it so he goes more, I don't know, in a square pattern or something.
And you're going to refocus.
I'm going to refocus.
All right, good luck. Let's get the cards in the air.
This one will decide it. 3rd match of this best-of-3 final. Chips reset to 640,000. Blinds also reset to 3 and 6,000.
The last match that Eric won hinged on a misread by Annie Duke where she had 10-8 against his 10-deuce and felt he was bluffing. Now, Eric knows Annie is probably going to make an adjustment there and give him some more credit. Look for him to exploit that, though.
With king-queen, he limped in. Annie raised to 16,000 with pocket 7s. Now Eric calls.
Decent hands for both players to kick things off.
Deuce 9-5, no help to Seidel. Annie 7 still best. She bets 15,000. Eric raises to 45,000.
1 overcard to Annie 7's out there. Eric is making a pure play in this situation, and that's an example of what I was just talking about. Eric exploiting the credit that she's likely to give him now as a result of that big pot in the last match.
Nobody thought this would be a blowout, and sure enough, it is not. Round 1 to Annie, round 2 to Eric. He got the chip lead early, and that had to help.
No doubt, Greg, and Eric knew exactly what to do with those chips as soon as he got a hold of them, contesting virtually every pot from that point forward and really never looking back.
When you're down to the rubber match, how do either of them adjust? Because it looks like it's anyone's game in the tiebreaker.
You're exactly right. It's going to come down, quite simply, to who the deck favors. Both of these players are playing well, and if you told me it would come down to aces against kings all in pre-flop, I simply wouldn't be surprised. One thing's for sure, though, don't expect many mistakes. Do expect great poker.
That's like a bumper sticker.
You're sitting on a gold mine, Hummer.
8-4 for Annie. She'll limp in. 7-3 suited for Seidel. He checks.
Napkins all around.
Couple of 5s on the flop.
Nothing doing for either player here. Seidel leading. We've seen him do a lot of this all throughout this tournament, effectively for the most part.
He bets 6,000 and Annie calls.
She's not going to relinquish position, just floating here.
Eric with the flush draw.
That's going to make it easier for Eric to fire this second barrel, even though he's just got 7 high. He's got outs if he gets called.
He bets 17,000. Annie raises to 55,000. Is this what you meant by great poker?
It's poker, that's for sure. Risky business, but you got to take chances if you want to win a match like this, and that's exactly what Annie's doing. Clearly, she has now reassessed Eric leading out of position in these sorts of pots. Not giving him credit in that spot, but you saw her give him credit in the other spot when he was on the button and raised her when she let out.
Blinds have increased to 5 and 10,000. Eric with Jack-6. He'll limp in. Ace-9 suited for Annie. She raises to 30,000. Re-raise by Eric to 85,000.
Haven't seen much of that in this event. A limp re-raise. Supposed to look really strong, but it's also something that you do on occasion as a reaction to somebody trying to raise out of position against you to pick off a potential bluff.
That looks pretty strong. Another re-raise to 220,000.
See that grin on Eric Seidel's face? That's because he knows that Annie knows what he's thinking.
Eric folds. Serious pre-flop action on that hand, and Duke's the beneficiary.
That 4-bet by Annie had far more to do with the situation than it did with the fact that she had ace-9 suited. Not the strength of the hand that guided her, but rather the scenario.
Annie up 156,000 in chips. Pocket 9s for Seidel. King, queen for Annie. She raises to 25,000. Re-raise to 75,000. And a call from Annie.
They're playing big pot poker this time around.
Broadway draw for Duke.
2 9s are the best hands. Seidel's got control of the pot and doesn't want to give it up here. Sort of a compulsory follow-through, even though the 2 overcards are out there, and it's very easy for Annie to hold an ace or a jack in her hand.
After he bets 75,000, Annie folds.
Why are you being so violent, man?
It's you. I always think I'm bluffing.
My hand was real. I almost called on the bluff. My hand was actually really good. That wasn't a bluff picker. That was a value call and trap you. But the board came relatively bad for me.
Who will be the next heads-up champion? In 2005, Phil Hellmuth won the inaugural heads-up crown. 1 year later, the man they call Spooky, Ted Forrest, did it. In 2007, it was Paul Wasika's turn for the final handshake. In 2008, Chris Jesus Ferguson outlasted the field. And last year, Huck Seed joined this elite group of champions. One of these two will become number 6 as the final draws closer to a conclusion. As we return to the final, Eric Seidel in the lead in this decisive third match of a best of 3 with Annie Duke. Blinds are now at 10 and 20,000. GoDaddy.com Pocket Cam shows Seidel's Queen 8. He limps in. Queen 4 for Annie. She checks.
This is so docile in contrast to what we're used to out of these two.
Couple of aces on the flop. Both players check. Both players pair their queen. Seidel's kicker best. He bets 20,000 after Annie checks, and she calls.
Duke is drawing dead. She can only chop.
Deuce, both players with 2 pair. Eric's 8 will play. He bets 75,000 after Annie's check, and she calls.
On the river. Aces and queens.
Unfortunate turn card.
Shows a queen as well.
Sucks Annie into dusting off an extra 95,000.
It's hard to beat the best hand every hand.
Takes the pot.
Seidel now up almost 2-1 in chips.
Annie seems a little bit more emotional, a little less composed than I'm used to seeing her, and it might be because there's so much riding on this. Eric is just such a peer to her.
10 deuce suited for Duke. She raises to 50,000.
And he's really eager to impress him, make him proud.
And he raises to 50.
King 8 for Eric. He calls.
Might be getting her off her game a little bit.
9-5 ace. No help to either player. Eric checks. Annie bets 55,000. And Eric calls.
Oh boy, Eric really just not giving up on any of these pots.
Turn pairs the board.
He plays so well out of position. Look at this.
Bets 100,000.
How do they know? He just seems to know, like a sixth sense, picking off Annie, taking position away from her.
Never easy to get this far, but Annie Duke has had as tough a road to the finals as you could script. Round 1, the 08 heads-up runner-up Annie Block. Then 2009 main event runner-up Darvin Moon. It got no easier with 07 heads-up champ Paul Wasika, followed by 2007 main event champion Jerry Yang in the quarters. And the semis, nothing close to an easy out in Dennis Phillips. For her hard work, she draws an 8-time bracelet winner in Eric Seidel.
This is the equivalent of finishing all your homework and then having your parents tell you they're going to reward you with chores.
Ace 7 for Eric. He raised 50,000. Annie goes all in with ace 4. And Eric folds.
Bullying him off the better ace in that spot. Feels like a rare break for her.
There's last year's champ Huck Seed on the left, joined by 5-time bracelet winner Alan Cunningham. They're enjoying the action.
Looked like Huck Seed back there dusted off an old transistor radio to get the play-by-play.
He's a big fan of yours, Ali. Jack deuce for Duke. She raises to 75,000. 9-4 suited for Seidel. He'll call.
Annie getting aggressive on the button here with a definite sub-premium hand, and you see Seidel doesn't relinquish, defends.
7-8 tray, neither player connects.